Okay, so first of all, good afternoon to you all. Thank you all for coming. Um, and I would like to thank, of course, the opportunity to present our decarbonization strategy here at this One Sustainable Ocean side event conference of the UN Ocean Conference. My name is Hugo Lopes. I'm the head of the Development of Sustainable Department of Apdl. And I would start, if my pointer works. Okay. So I would start by a short presentation about our company. So Apdl stands for the Port Administration of Douro, Leixões e Viana do Castelo. We form three business units. So the first business unit is the Port of Viana do Castelo. It stands in the north of Portugal, more or less 400 kilometers from here where we stand. It's a small port with some interesting facilities, mainly dedicated to break bulk and dry bulk and a little bit of liquid bulk. It doesn't reach the 400,000 tons of cargo per year. And our second unit, the Douro Inland Waterway, is the River Douro Channel, so 200 kilometers that connects the Atlantic to Spain. So we manage all that navigation channel. Today is very well known for the touristic issue, so this is very well known for these picturesque and I would say beautiful landscapes that face the vineyards that are along all the channel. And in terms of cargo is quite residual, something like 400 tons of cargo per year. And last but not the least, the Port of Leixões. So this is the unit that I'm going to explore a little bit more during this presentation. I'm going to focus on our decarbonization strategy. Just a small glance into the Port of Leixões for those that don't know the facility. So it stands something like 300 kilometers to the north from where we stand, in the vicinity of the port of the city of Porto. Besides, or along with the port, we have a very important fishing harbor that has a very representative importance nationally. The port itself has a lot of terminals, so two container terminals, has a lot of quays dedicated to break bulk cargo and also with grains. And well, as a main issue, I think this is enough for our introduction. Okay. So about some figures about the port, and of course we have the COVID effect that still stands. We are recovering, but there is still some influence about the COVID. What you can see here as you look at this cargo handling in 2021, we can see, for example, in terms of cargo, mainly on containers, road and dry bulk, we are growing, and there was a strong decrease on liquid bulk, and I would say that was a reflection of, I would say, the energy shift that we all face today. Okay, so near the port we have a refinery operated by Galp. It was closed, it was shut down very recently, so there was a decrease, and we will have a decrease furthermore in the future, and so we are compensated that decrease with other cargoes. So doing what we call the diversification of our business, and I'm going to go into detail afterwards. So in terms of impact on our society in Portugal, I would say that the importance of Leixões is very relevant. So we stand for something like 12% of GDP and the employment on the north region, and something like 6.5 nationally. We are responsible for more or less 20% of the foreign trade that goes by sea, so we are quite relevant in Portugal and what stands for the industrial, I would say, power of our country. And here we are. So Leixões is right next on that stretch of coast that is Portugal, on the western region of Europe. We, of course, had better results in the past than what we achieved in 2021. So in 2019, just to give you I would say, a benchmark, we reached nearly 20 million tons, of cargo. In 2021, we reached only 15. So this is a reflex not only on the COVID, but also on this decrease associated with fossil fuels decrease, and indirectly to the reduction on the liquid bulk that operates on the port. And just to give you some general figures about passengers, we achieved in 2019 100,000 passengers cruise ships on the port, and of course in 2021 we only reached 19, very close to that. In terms of in and out of the port, mainly by truck, we are talking about something like 1,500 trucks per day, what is relevant, and that we are exploring some I would say some ideas to reduce that value. Okay, so what motivates us to go into sustainability? Of course, we are all motivated by sustainability, but we have, I would say, an increase in terms of motivation, and that increase is quite, I think, illustrated in this picture. So this is the Port of Leixões, a port that has 130 years of age. That basically was initially built as a protection port, where vessels could stay and wait for good conditions to enter Douro, where the original port was. But very rapidly, we or the port administration understood that this had quite better conditions than the Douro port, and it substituted the port of Douro in the beginning of the 20th century. So what we can say is that, of course, the port activity, I would say, leverage some development in the city, of course, and so the city and the port, they grew together along these 130 years of age. And today we face, of course, some difficulties associated with this particular curiosity. That is, the city grew a lot all around the port, and today we don't have quite of a nice space to expand inland our port. Okay, so we had to find solutions, and not only find solutions, but to deal with the difficulties of exploring a port in these conditions. Okay, and what can I say about that? Well, first of all, we are facing some difficulties in terms of efficiency. So in the past 10 years, we are making a straight effort to improve our efficiency. And why? Because, of course, our space is limited, so we need to make it as efficient as we can. And, of course, as social and environmental awareness grows up in the communities, people look at, I would say, modern, greener, and silent equipments and operations. Okay, so this is a major challenge for the port operations, as you may understand, or you may know, for those who work in the field. And so I would say that the environmental challenges that we face today, okay, and of course along with the lack of space in the port, and of course the proximity to the city and this awareness that I just mentioned, today we are facing a climate crisis. So nobody can be indifferent to this challenge. Okay, and so we understand that we have to comply, at least to comply or to go further on with meeting these goals. Okay, and so what we can say is that we can define our environmental challenge in 3 different pillars. So I would start by the right hand side, the urban harbor. Okay, that is the first stress that we had to deal with. Okay, and more recently, of course, with the European Green Deal and what were the targets that were imposed by that Green Deal. I would say with the rise of those targets imposed now for the Fit for 55. Okay, we have to face this new and very challenging goal, and for that, I have to say also. Sorry, I changed the slide. Okay, I have to say also something that I think is important is that because we are developing our activity very near the city, our awareness about environmental issues dated from 2005. Okay, so in 2005 we decided that we had to develop our strategy of sustainability. Okay, so from that point on, we developed each year, we develop our own strategy. Okay, our monitoring and our reporting on our sustainability reports, and you can find it on our website. Since 2006 towards 2021, you'll find our sustainability reports that basically, on the last ones, are facing these 7 of the 14 SDG goals, okay? And why 7 and not 14? Of course, we need to prioritize our strategies. Some of them we already, I would say, addressed in the past and are mainly solved, okay? So we are focusing on these 7 SDGs, okay? But we think we should go further, and to go further, we decided and to make a strong decision. That strong decision was to take I would say, a strong step towards a sustainable future, okay? Not only dealing with I would say, the daily problems and solving and mitigating those problems, but to define an ambitious strategy to meet, I would say, not only the goals that were called up in the Green Deal, but trying to go even more, I would say, further in this ambition. Okay, and what have we done? So we have developed a roadmap for energy transition towards carbon neutrality, and on that development, we of course defined what was the target. Okay, and our target was to achieve decarbonization by 2035. So 15 years before what was established by the Green Deal. Okay, and of course it's a very I would say ambitious goal. Okay, but we are I would say focused in trying to meet that specific goal. Okay, and for that goal, of course, I can go into some of the action plans that we defined. But basically, we defined a few milestones so that we can monitor what is going on in the further years. So basically, we want to reduce in the first phase 35% of our emissions, then 75% in 2030, and on 2035, I would say we hope to achieve the 100% of decarbonization in the port. Okay, of course that we know, and we all know, that all these measures that don't depend only on the port. Okay, there is a lot of investments. There is a lot of things to be done by our partners. Okay, we are the landlord port. Okay, as a landlord port, basically we are responsible for the infrastructure. Of course, we provide a certain number of services, but we do not operate directly the cargo. So we have to work closely with our stakeholders in order to develop and to attain these goals. Okay, so this is how we see the port in the future. Okay, what we would like to have is basically a port, okay, a modern port with very nice maritime accessibilities. Okay, a modern infrastructure. Okay, if possible, with automation fully integrated. We know that it's not possible in the first phase, but at least we are looking for it in the future. Okay, where intermodality can flow. Okay, this is very important. I'm going to go back to this point in a few slides, where we can produce all our energy. Okay, that's another of our goals. Okay, to be self-sufficient. And this is also a very interesting point that I'm going to explore later on, and I'm going to show you some specific initiatives that we're following on. Of course, decarbonization, all the activities in the port. Okay, and for that, I would say, for the efficiency of all these activities, we need to go into digitalization. Okay, we are already doing some steps in this matter, but we need to go further, and I'm going to point out some of the specific initiatives that we are planning. Okay, and of course we know that electrification is, of course, a good solution, but we know that we cannot electrify everything. Okay, and the vessels are one of the types of equipment that we are going to have a lot of difficulty worldwide to solve. What we have for today on the Cardápio, I would say, are alternative fuels. Okay, we are looking for green alternative fuels, and we are, of course, planning to have that bunkering in the port. Okay, to provide that supply into the vessels, not only for those that visit the port, but even for our own fleet that cannot, I would say, shift into electrification. Okay. So what are the main initiatives? What is the plan? Okay, what are we going to do to develop and to achieve this carbon neutrality? Okay, so basically we define 5 vectors. Okay, those 5 vectors are basically to decarbonize the port activity. Okay, to develop the onshore power supply, that is to say, to guarantee the capacity to connect the vessels when they are in berth to the net, so reducing the emissions on the generators that usually are working when the port is at berth, to go and develop what is the alternative fuels that I just pointed out, to go into digitalization, and also to produce energy, of course, from renewable sources. I'm going to go slowly and talk a little bit of each one of those action plans. So starting by the decarbonization of the activities of the port. Okay, I would say that some of these measures started well before the roadmap was developed. Okay, and one of them was in 2020. We decided that we don't want to have old trucks in the port. Okay, this is a small measure, of course, but if you understand that that measure is going to be applied to something like 1,500 trucks that per day are entering the port. Okay, so the reduction is quite significant as you look at the emissions. Okay, and so what was the first initiative was exactly that prohibition. So we prohibit the trucks, as you know, or some of you may know, the trucks have a classification. So class 1, Euro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and what we defined was that everything below 5 or 6 is going to be prohibited by 2021. So it was I would say a symbolic measure, of course. It is not something that has a strong impact on the emissions of the port, but it was a symbolic measure to show that we are really interested in go further into that implementation. Okay, so that was the first measure, and I can say that even though it was a small interval, so 2020 to 2022, we already achieved more than 12% of increase on Euro 5 and Euro 6 trucks. So it's an important step, of course, not the most important step, but an important step towards decarbonization. And what have we done and what are we going to do in the future? So first of all, as I told you, the emissions on the trucks are one of the first measures. We bought this eco truck. This is an electric truck that is operating in the port. So the Port Authority bought the truck and made it available for the concessionaires to use it on those operations. It's just symbolic, of course, but it's just a trial to understand if it works. We have more than 1 year of experience on that eco truck. We are now achieving another one. Okay, and the idea is to promote that use. Okay, we are going to define a business model with our concessionaires in order to make it happen. Okay, of course we had to make an effort to get not only, of course, the eco truck, but also the recharging stations. At least we only have one now. We are going to expand that network, of course, and slowly we are achieving those steps. I would say another pinpoint that we had just achieved, and I think it has 14 days. We just received 2 new tugboats. Okay, these are the 2 new tugboats that we just received that reduced emissions in something like 80% of NOx. Okay, and why? Because our old tugboats dated from something like 40 years. Okay, so they were quite inefficient. So there is a strong, I would say, improvement with these tugboats. Okay, and of course we need to apply some for new measures, but also we need to measure those measures. Okay. We are improving our air quality measurement grid. Okay, we already have 2 stations and six points of measurement on the multi-parametric equipment that we have all along the port. We are going to improve that information, that grid, acquiring more equipment, and to have it online so that we can monitor it daily. Okay, we already have it, but on a specific part of the port, we are going to make it available for all the community, in order for all of us can look at those figures. And well, in terms of decarbonization of trucks and vessels, this is what we plan. And of course, one of the main and most important things is to electrify, of course, the port activity. I would say the heavy port activity. Okay, we are talking about heavy equipments. Most of the cranes already are electric, specifically those that operate on the container terminals. But those that lead with the dry bulk and everything, they are not electric. Okay, so this is the new step forward. Okay, we need to get them electric. Okay, so we are working with our concessionaires in order to increase, okay, this shift, okay, as soon as possible, to get all these equipments electric. Okay, and of course, as I told you before, we need to make them made electric, of course, but we have to also upgrade our network, our electric network, in order to be capable of responding to this new demand. Okay, and I'm going to go on that a little bit further on the presentation. We have our own fleet. Our concessions have their own fleet. We have, of course, trucks that go in and out of the port every day, but we also have a strong fleet that is working only inside of the port, okay? And that inside fleet, okay, is the only that can be, I would say, shifted rapidly, okay? So we are making this effort, we are studying the solution, we are pointing out what are the alternatives to get this working, okay? And we plan to have it in the next couple of years, this solution implemented in the harbor, okay? A small note, it's not representative in terms of emissions, but ourselves in the Port Authority, most of our vehicles are already hybrid or electric, okay? And the idea is, as our leasing and renting plans are going to the end, okay, we are changing it to electric in order to give the example to all our partners, okay? What can we achieve with this? Okay, so a reduction of something like 7,300 tons of CO2. Okay, just to give you an idea, our estimation is that we produce something like 60,000 per year. Okay, so 60,000 tons. With these measures, we reduce 7,300. It's not most representative, as I'm going to point out in the next slides. And this is the elephant in the room. Okay, so the electrification of the port, specifically with the onshore power supply, this is the main challenge. Okay? And this is the main challenge. Why? Because in order to get everything going, and that's to say, to get power in all the connections that are pointed out in our study, just to give you an idea, what we have today in the port is something like 7 MVAs for those that are familiarized with electric units. Okay. To solve and to get this working, we are going to have something between 60 and 75. Okay. So again, 7, we have to shift it to 60 and then 75. Okay, MVAs. And so what does this represent? This represents the following. So for that to work, what we are going to have is we are going to need to build a new substation. Okay, that substation is going to have those 60 MVAs that I just told you. Then we are going to need to upgrade our medium voltage grid. Okay, we have a grid that works on 50 kilovolts. Okay, it's going to be changed to 30 kilovolts. And only with that, we are, I would say, capable of responding to these necessities. But this is not all, okay? Because on the upstream part of the system, that is to say, on the RAN or on our provider, we are going to have the necessity to have that power available in the port, okay? And this is not a problem today, okay? We don't know it's going to be the future because our necessities are going to grow, but there is a lot of necessities all along the industry that are going to grow. So let's see how RAN deals with all these problems. Okay, it's not going to be easy. Okay, and I can say that I know, and most of you, or some of you may know, of course, there are some ports that have the problem that the upstream net is not capable of solving this problem. So even though if they make all these investments, okay, on the upstream of the grid there is no power available to respond to these necessities. Okay, so it's quite of a huge and complex, I would say, problem, and this problem is only emphasized more with something that is also very important. There is the regulation, okay? Because the port authority does not have the capacity to oblige the vessels to connect, okay? We can, of course, create, as I pointed out over there, we can promote, I would say, a positive differentiation in taxes and fees and everything, okay, but we cannot oblige the companies, the loan shippers to go on this direction. Of course, I'm convicted, and I think most of us are convicted that it's going to happen, okay, but we don't know how and what are going to be the strict measures that are going to be implemented, okay, and this is going to be, and I'm going to point out in a few moments. This is also going to be very important to connect the OPS with alternative fuels, okay? Because they cannot not mix together. That is to say, we have a path on OPS that is to reduce the emissions on the port, okay? But that reduction has to be in line with what is going to be the obligations of using alternative fuels. That is to say, imagine that we do all these investments and all major ports make these investments, and then alternative fuels can be used in ports. Okay, so why were we invest in these technologies? Okay, so I'm just pointing out. I don't know. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but this is something that is, I I would say, worried on our sector, and I believe that in other sectors too. That is to say, how we are going to fill all the pieces of the map in order to make this happen in a very, I would say, strict way. Again, what is the reduction that we can achieve with this OPS system? So I can tell you from the diagnosis that we have made that more than 75% of the emissions are on the vessels that emit during the berth on the quay. Okay, so if we can solve that problem, we can go and maybe reduce something like 38,000 tons of CO2. This is representative, of course. Okay, if you look at the 60 that I just pointed out in the beginning, 38, it's quite interesting. Okay, there is a lot of, I would say, things that we could explore. I'm not going to be very, I would say, in detail on these emissions, but basically is this. So reducing emissions, okay, comply, of course, with regulation and make that regulation, I would say, balanced with what is coming on the alternative green fuels. What about renewable energy? So as we want to achieve self-sufficiency, we have a few challenges. Okay? Technologies are not new, even though, of course, or rephrasing, they are the main sources are not new. Okay, but technologies are evolving, and some different technologies are being developed by a lot of partners worldwide. And what are we planning to do? Okay, so starting by the photovoltaic panels. So of course, this is the easy part. Okay, it's the one that is in a TRL quite high, so it's quite easy to install and to, I would say, to bet on the solution. So we are starting with a program of 1 megawatt of installation. We are just receiving and studying some proposals. We are going to launch a tender very briefly in order to go into install these equipments. And I just want to point out some very interesting, in my point of view, shift in terms of betting in these renewable energies. What we face today is, instead of having the port authorities to invest, we are being faced by a lot of companies that want to invest in our port. Okay, so a different business model where the capex comes from the private companies. They install the equipment and they make it available not only to the port but to all the stakeholders. Okay, this is common for all the technologies that I'm going to talk to you. Okay, and this is a very interesting thing, because I believe that we should evolve these energy productions from renewable sources in a very integrated way. Okay, bringing together the economy. Okay, bringing together the industry, the companies, the ports, eventually the government, in order to create hubs, to create clusters that could develop not only the production of this energy, but also to get other things. For example, by bringing together the energy production, for example, nursery areas, for example, the production of other alternative fuels. Today we talked about, for example, producing energy using wind energy, producing energy, and then, for example, have a hydrogen production unit, I would say, coupled to that production, and get that production made in the same place. So I think we need to develop, and I'm bringing up your minds because I know a lot of faces that are here, and I know that they are very connected to the academic, to industry, to investigation and research units. And so I think we need to make a strong effort to develop these solutions and to go further on in order to get the funds that are going to come, okay, and to bring the solutions, of course, to Portugal, to Leixões if possible, and to increase our capacity, our national capacity to produce from renewable energies. Okay. So again, photovoltaic, we are going to start by a 1 megawatt unit. We intend to scale it maybe to 4 megawatts in the future. In terms of wind turbines, we are planning to install 2 wind turbines on our breakwater. So we are studying the possibility of having 2 turbines of 4 megawatts. Okay, it's not established yet, but it's what we have on the table. We have a partnership with a foreign company to install a pilot unit of wind energy in the vicinity of the port. So for those who know, near the city of Porto we have the River Douro. There is a pilot unit to be installed on the mole of the River Douro. Okay, that's just a pilot. 1 megawatt can be scaled up. Okay, so we can go further on that power. And of course, then what we will try, of course, to use it the maximum as we can, not only on our port activities, but with our stakeholders, and those that capacity that I would say goes beyond our consumption, of course, is going to be injected in the grid. Okay. So what is our expectation, and I would say is not our dream, is our expectation to achieve something like 35 gigawatts hour per year, okay, in the vicinity of the Leixões port. But because we have the 200 kilometers of the Douro River channel, okay, we have plenty of room to expand for other technologies, okay. So we haven't finished yet our surveys, I would say. Again, I'm just talking about Leixões port because our decarbonization project is focused on Leixões port, but we have, for those who know, in the north, in the Viana do Castelo port, we are making also a very strong effort to develop with our partners, okay, the offshore energy production. As you know, there are some interesting projects. We have Windfloat, Core Power, another company that is developing and is making its pilots nowadays in the vicinity of that port. So we want to be part of these solutions. We want to be part of that development, okay? And we are looking forward to bring more partners to this equation, okay? And so, for those that are not connected with us till now, but have the interest of the capacity to work with us solutions, so come and talk with us. We are very open to new solutions and new ideas. On alternative fuels, what we have today, well, a few years ago LNG was the future. As you know, everything changed. Maybe it was good, a good change, okay? So we are now looking at green fuels, okay? They are developing. They are not, I would say, still at a maturation point where you can use it, I would say, in a standard way today, in a massive way, on all vessels and all fleets, but a few steps are being done, okay? The production capacity is one of the bottlenecks, as you know, for today. If we want to shift for any of those alternatives, we don't have the capacity to answer it for the worldwide fleet. So what we want to do is what we are doing now. We are monitoring the demand of alternative fuels. We are monitoring what is happening in terms of research. We are, for example, we have a participation in a big cluster on a PRER project. There is the H2 driven, so it's a big project that involves a lot of companies, major companies in Portugal, to develop hydrogen, as the name says, and methanol at the end. So we are very aware of this. We want to be part of it. Okay, we want to diversify our business. Okay, and this part of the business is one that we can really diversify in terms of supplying and bunkering of vessels. Okay, of alternative fuels to feed the vessels. Okay, there is a lot to do, of course, in terms of regulations, in terms of fees, in terms of application. For example, for those that have been accompanying the sessions on the Ocean Conference facing shipping, one of the things that is being pointed out is, for example, ammonia cannot be used today, okay, because it does not comply with the regulations. So a lot has to be done in order to make this possible in the near future, okay, and I believe it's going to be done because all of us are making that effort, okay. So one of the vectors is digitalization. Digitalization, why? Because digitalization can speed up operations, okay, can bring feasibility, can bring, of course, I would say, quality to your data, can help you, for example, simulate what is going to happen in the port, so you can use your digital twin to simulate different alternatives. And of course, by combining the sensoring, IoT, AI, AR, and all of these, I would say, all of these buzzwords that we hear all the time, we can, of course, look into efficiency, look into speed, look into, of course, as a result, a reduction on emissions and a good impact on the environment. Okay, that is what we are looking for. Okay, I'm just going to point out a few of the projects that we are involved now. So logistics single window. So this is I would say, a follow-up or a development on the single window or the single port window. Okay, bringing together a wider span of stakeholders. So this is going to be applied to all the logistics. Okay. So again, this brings transparency to the situation, speeds up all the process. Okay. And of course, connected with digitalization by itself, okay, is going to allow big improvements in the port. I can tell you, for example, when the JUP, the single window, was installed at Leixões, along with a new dedicated highway that we built to connect the highway into the port, so removing all the trucks from the city, we reduced drastically the truck time, or the idle time of trucks when they're going in and out of the port. Okay, and we believe that with this, okay, we can go even further. Okay, and the logistics single window, that's the designation, Portuguese designation is JUL. Okay, that is for the Portuguese Janela Única Logística. Is already implemented in a few ports. Okay, not in Leixões. We are a very complex port. We have a lot of types of cargo and very, I would say, complex thing to deal with, and therefore we are the last going to receive the implementation of this project. But we are looking forward to have it working properly, and this is going to be a major improvement. Okay, we are going to build a new data center. Okay, Tier 3 data center is going to be built in Leixões. Okay. Our idea is, of course, first of all, to improve our capacity, okay, bringing resilience to the system, okay, reducing, or on the opposite direction, to guarantee the continuity of the port operation, okay, and we are going to open this commercial, this data center to our stakeholders, okay, so that they can improve and they can also evolve their capacity using our data center, okay. Along with the data center, as some of you may hear, we were pioneers in the implementation of 5G technology. Again, 5G technology, higher velocity in communications, faster means reduction of time. Reduction of time means less pollution, less emissions, so a positive environmental impact again. Okay, so we have made some experience with drones. Okay. We already have some experience made with our cameras. We have our CCTV cameras to monitor cargo. We are developing our digital I would say in conjunction with this 5G and cameras that are connected with some algorithms that can help us develop and monitor the cargoes. And so this is I would say a complex and harmonious development towards the total digitalization of the port. It's going to take a while, of course, but we are looking forward to get it. But of course, technology cannot solve everything, so we are also making a few investments on our infrastructure. Okay, first of all, on our maritime accessibilities, we are deepening our channel. Okay, we are extending our breakwater to 300 meters. Okay, in order to receive bigger vessels. And why bigger vessels? Because the world fleet grew dramatically in the past 2 decades. So we need to keep with the pace. Okay, and keep with the pace means that today we only receive something like 40% of the world fleet, and we want to go back to the 70% of attendance. Okay, and this is what we are going to achieve with this new challenge. This challenge also means that we are going to receive less vessels. There is a decrease in the number of vessels that are going to the port. We had in the past something like 3,000. Okay, we are decreasing from 2,500 in the past years, so 2050, 2040 something, and I believe that with this implementation we are going to decrease even more. So less visits with more efficient vessels. Okay, so brings of course less, I would say, impact to the port. Okay, in terms of infrastructures, what we are doing is, of course, containers are growing all around the world. Okay. We want to keep in pace. So to keep in pace, we have two terminals that are achieving this main capacity, or this full capacity. So we are investing in the reconversion of our multi-purpose terminal in order to get a new terminal, basically dedicated to containers. It's going to be a 490 meters quay, okay, minus 50.5 meters depth, okay. So post-Panamax vessels can come to the port. And of course, we are going to use this expansion also to improve the fishing harbor that exists in the north region of this terminal. Okay, so we intend that the development of ports should also be the development of the community, and so we try to balance all these investments in order to achieve a greater, I would say, a greater good for all of the community. Okay, so this is basically the layout that we expect to have. I put in purpose that more than 1.2 million TOs, because we are constantly updating that value. Okay, we already achieved the volume of 1.5. Okay, because it's quite kind of efficiency in terms of operation of the terminal. So changing the layout, changing the type of equipment, so we can go further. Okay, so we are keeping a capacity to go into the 1.5 million tons. Again, looking to efficiency, we are going to build a new inspection center. Okay, an inspection center serves the community basically by bringing together a lot of entities, public entities that are responsible for specific niches of evaluating the cargo. Okay, we are bringing all them together into a specific place. Okay, and with that we expect to have, of course, reduction of time of analysis of the cargo, and basically a reduction on the time means again reduction of emissions, of course, and a positive impact on the environment. Okay, of course that all these buildings that I'm just pointing out are, of course, looking for efficient and sustainable development facility. Okay, intermodality is very important in logistics. Okay, we have made some investments in the past with the logistics platform that we built up, but because the port had no area to expand, so we achieved another 60 hectares of area with our logistic platform. We create that single access to the highways I pointed out previously, and now we are going even further. So we are going to integrate in the port the rail terminal that was operated by IP right next to the port, but you may not believe, but the cargo that need to go from the rail terminal into the port had to be picked up by a truck, make a 5 kilometers pathway, and then enter the port. So it was not efficient, of course. There was something that we are working with IP maybe 5 years ago, from 5 years till now, and finally I think that this year is going to be, I would say, finalized that implementation. And with that, we can shift our rail share quota to 20%. Okay, that's also important from the point of view of sustainability. Okay, to reduce those trucks. Okay, to bring the cargo direct to the port, and to achieve that important goal. This is not enough because the port is expanding. We need more areas, and so we are going further in our strategy. And our strategy goes into dry ports, as you may also have heard. Dry ports are a possibility to extend the port to different geographies. Okay, so the first one that we are going to explore is going to be Guarda. Guarda is right next in the center part of Portugal. Okay, connected directly to Porto by a railway, of course, and with direct connection also to Spain. So making this, I would say, the possibility to interconnect Spain with Portugal, and basically with Leixões in a very different way. Okay, so intermodality, multimodality. See, this is how we see the port activity in the future. Okay, not restricted to the harbour, but making the harbour go further on into the territory. Okay, and bringing out those synergies to make all the logistic process more efficient. Okay, and so you may ask, where do we see, or how do I see Apdl in 2035? This is how we would like to see Apdl. So as a urban, intelligent, and sustainable port. Okay. If possible, as a reference in the southern region of Europe, okay, being a self-sufficient and zero-emission port. Okay, this is our main goal. Okay, making use, of course, of everything that I just pointed out: renewable energy, self-sufficient port, reducing the footprint, contributing for the public health improvement, and strengthening relationships with the community. Okay, this is our goal. This is what we want. This is what we would like to achieve in 2035. Thank you all. Okay, so you have my contact over there. I'm Hugo Lopes. I'm the head of sustainability and development of the Port of Leixões, and I'm open to any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Boa tarde, meu nome é Ivo Melim, trabalho no Grupo Quadrante. Não ouve? Eu estou-me a ouvir. Boa tarde. Novamente, o meu nome é Ivo Molino, trabalho no Grupo Quadrante e é com muito gosto que venho assistir a esta apresentação. É um projeto bastante ambicioso. Queria só fazer aqui um comentário em relação à digitalização dos portos. A tecnologia que referiu há pouco para integrar as câmaras que já existem no Porto. O projeto, apesar de ser ambicioso, já se baseia muito em tecnologia que já existe completamente disponível. Tecnologia OCR, que é o Optical Characterization and Recognition, que pode fazer o tracing de toda a carga desde o main gate até o navio e vice-versa. E queria só perguntar em que ponto é que já estão no desenvolvimento desse projeto, já têm... já vi que instalaram já uma rede 5G, e se já tem esse tipo de tecnologia ou esse tipo de software que recorre muito à inteligência artificial implementado no Porto, ou se já estão a implementar.
Okay. Obrigado. I'm going to maybe answer in English so that I don't know if
I can repeat everything in English if you want, okay? I don't know if everybody understood what I just said.
Is there anyone that is not Portuguese in the room? You're all Portuguese? Ok, perfeito. Em português é mais fácil. A resposta é sim, ou seja, nós já temos este projeto desenvolvido, embora, como é lógico, este projeto está a ser desenvolvido por partes, ou seja, nós começamos por pilotos. Por exemplo, no caso do Porto de Leixões, nós começamos pelas cargas mais sensíveis. Começamos a desenvolver o projeto, temos um parceiro já que vem desenvolvendo connosco já há longos anos várias tecnologias. Por exemplo, teve ligado com a parte do desenvolvimento do nosso SIG, numa primeira fase, que agora está já na parte do digital, que é uma empresa conhecida no mercado. Começamos pelas cargas perigosas, mas nós queremos ser o mais abrangentes possível. Ou seja, eu dei o exemplo da carga, mas não é aí que nós queremos ficar. Não é? Ou seja, na carga, por exemplo, vou-lhe dar alguns exemplos do que nós estamos a trabalhar neste momento. Cargas perigosas, okay? Cargas sensíveis, okay? Fazer o tracing desde a entrada até à zona de parque e tudo o que acontece a essa carga. Então ela está constantemente monitorizada. Por exemplo, no caso de haver um incidente qualquer, não é? Há um incêndio no Porto, nós sabemos exatamente onde é que estão as cargas sensíveis, por exemplo. Não é? Indo mais além, nós podemos fazer com as câmaras, através de algoritmos, e lá está reconhecimento de imagem por aí fora, podemos trabalhar, por exemplo, a ocupação dos espaços. Ou seja, saber que espaços é que estão ocupados, ter noções de volumetria, e se eu souber que volumetria, ou melhor, que tipologia de carga é que lá está, eu consigo ter uma noção, por exemplo, quais são as cargas nos terraplenos. Ok? Conseguimos, por exemplo, ligar esta parte da utilização de câmaras normal com estereoscopia, por exemplo, para tirar a volumetria, como estava a dizer há bocadinho, não só a parte 2D, mas a parte 3D, e depois indo mais além, que é na parte da monitorização das próprias infraestruturas. Nós, por exemplo, estamos a desenvolver, isto não tem nada a ver aqui com a transição para já, mas é algo que nós estamos também a trabalhar aqui com os parceiros. Não sei se está aqui alguém do CEIA, que eu conheça não, mas estamos a trabalhar com o CEIA. O CEIA tem desenvolvido um conjunto muito grande de veículos e nós estamos a trabalhar com eles várias hipóteses também de veículos, porque nós temos muito interesse em fazer monitorização, diria, contínua em várias das nossas infraestruturas. Então a ideia é integrar um conjunto muito multivariado de sensores, de câmaras de vídeo de alta resolução, associadas a algoritmos de reconhecimento, e com isso nós conseguimos, por exemplo, fazer uma viagem numa embarcação unmanned, é? E depois ela faz todo o trace, a dizer assim, por exemplo, aqui eu tenho estas balizas no rio, não é? A embarcação faz o percurso e vai dizer assim, não, esta baliza mexeu-se 200 metros, não é? Na cheia do último inverno, não é? Ou aqui está um cais que está com um rombo por aí fora. Portanto, isto, a potencialidade é enorme, nós podemos agora expandir isto para onde nós quisermos, não é? Agora, posso lhe dizer que isto não é desenvolvido por uma única empresa. Ou seja, eu dou-lhe exemplo, esta empresa é a empresa que, vamos chamar assim, é o chapéu do desenvolvimento, mas nós temos colaborado com muitas empresas de várias nacionalidades, israelitas, americanas, norueguesas, enfim, de várias geografias, que no fundo são especialistas em determinados campos, e nós depois a ideia é ir buscar essa valência e integrá-la no nosso sistema, ok? Porque o nosso objetivo da digitalização não é propriamente ter um digital twin bonito do Porto, não é? Nós queremos ter um digital twin realista do Porto. Portanto, a ideia é testá-la, é simular o comportamento do Porto e ir aferindo, ir calibrando esse funcionamento, de forma a que no futuro nós possamos estudar soluções de uma forma o mais próxima do real que nós tínhamos. Não é? Na engenharia, para quem é de engenharia, nós tínhamos a modelação física e a modelação numérica. Aqui, no fundo, isto não deixa de ser modelação digital, mas, portanto, numérica, mas que, no fundo, pode ser uma congregação da física com a numérica. Obrigado. Não sei se fui entediante, se fui muito claro. Estejam à vontade, alguma questão? Muito obrigado mais uma vez pela vossa disponibilidade e, mais uma vez, qualquer dúvida que tenham, estejam perfeitamente à vontade para encontrar os meus contactos e entrar em contacto comigo para podermos reunir, se assim desejarem. Tá bom? Muito obrigado.